Hi, I'm Donna Druchunas, and this is a Procreate and Tech Tips session for Sequential Artist Workshop. And today we're just having an informal Q&A. So we've got some comments that people have put in the chat that I'll read off and answer, and then we will take more questions if there's more time and more things to answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spotlight my iPad so you can see what I'm doing, and we'll just go through the questions. So this is just a stack. I have created a stack of images that I use for these sessions. And so we'll just use these files for now for questions. And the first question is, I would like to know more about backing up in Procreate. Okay, so Procreate has these stacks and all these files are saved inside Procreate, and you can't find them on your files or anything. They're like locked inside Procreate. If you have your iPad backing up to iCloud and the iPad crashes and you restore from the cloud, everything should come back. Okay, you notice I said should, because nothing works perfectly. So I suggest that you have your iPad backing up to the cloud, and that's a basic Apple feature, not specific to Procreate. But then I also suggest that you save all your images, the least important ones, somewhere else too. So we'll go into this stack, and I will show you how I save files to iCloud Drive. You can also save files to Dropbox and Google Drive. So any of those storage things that you have, you can save your files to, and you can save them in different ways. So I have this one here, and I'm gonna go right from here. I'm not gonna open it. I'm gonna swipe to the left and say share, because we're gonna use that share feature for backing up. And I'm gonna say, I wanna save the Procreate file, because I wanna be able to get it back with all my layers and work on it more if for some reason it gets ruined or if I mess it up. So when this comes up, you're going to look for save to files. Now this is for having iCloud Drive. I have 2 terabytes on iCloud, which I will never fill up. And I got it because I want to save all this stuff on it. Now it opens up to wherever you were last. So, at the top, I have iCloud Drive, and I made all these folders. And I made one called Procreate D. Some apps make their own folders, like Affinity Designer made its own folder when I installed it on my iPad in the iCloud Drive, but Procreate did not. So I put Procreate, and D is for my name, Donna. I made this folder, Procreate D, and then inside it, I made more folders. So all you do when you get to your iCloud Drive to make a folder is click this little plus. There's a tiny folder with a teeny tiny plus sign on it. And you type the plus, and you can name it whatever you want. So I'll just name it test, because we're just testing, and say done. And if you are not using the writing features or your Apple Pencil, the big keyboard will come up and you just type it in. So there's my folder that says test. And now I just say save. And it says successful. So it put this Procreate file on my iCloud Drive. Okay, so if I want to do a bunch, there's a couple ways. I can say select while I'm in the stack, and I can pick these 5 that I want to export. And I can go up here and say share, and I can say Procreate. And you'll notice now it's taking longer because it's processing 5 files all at once. But it'll still do the same thing. And then it will come up and say, where do I want to put it? And I'm going to say save to files. And now it went to a different folder. I don't know why. Sometimes it doesn't go to the last folder I was on. It's supposed to. So if it doesn't, I go looking for it. I'm like, where did I put my test folder? I thought I put it in Procreate. maybe there it is. I didn't put it in Procreate. I just put it in iCloud. So there's my test folder, and I can save all of those. So it saved all 5 of the ones on my iCloud drive. Now, if I'm out of the stack, I can swipe left on the stack and say share. I could pick Procreate and do the same thing, and it will save everything in the stack to the files. I'm not going to do that now because it takes a long time, because I have 20 arts in there, 14 here, 60 in this stack, and so forth. So if I go to save a whole stack, it will take even longer, but it works exactly the same way. You say share, you pick Procreate, and see how long it's going to take. So I'll cancel it. But then you would say save to files. So that is for if you have iCloud. If you have Dropbox, it shows up in there just the same way. And I don't think I have Dropbox on here. So let's check. I don't have a Dropbox account, personal Dropbox account. So I might not have it installed on here, but no, I don't. So Dropbox would be in there. Dropbox would be in there if I had Dropbox. And then for some reason, some things show up here and some things show up here. I don't know what the heck the iPad is thinking. The save to files is always in this list. And if you export a JPEG or PNG, you can save it to your photo album. But if you have Google Drive, it shows up over here. So I can also save a thing and I can put it in Google Drive if I have Google Drive, and then I just have to go and pick where on my Google Drive. So if you have Google Drive, you probably know how all that works already. And I would just pick a place to save it and save it. So I suggest that you save your files, of course, in Procreate, that you back up your iPad to, I'm gonna cancel this because it takes too long, that you back up your iPad to the cloud using the basic feature, and that you back up your files also to somewhere else, like iCloud Drive, Dropbox, Google Drive. Now, I just want to tell you one other thing. If I go and share this same file again at Procreate, so it's the same format, it's the Procreate file of my cover sheet there. If I go to save it to files again and pick the same folder, it will say, do I want to replace it or keep both? So usually I'll replace it with the new one, but sometimes I'll keep both. However, if I go and pick 2 or 3 or 5 and say share the Procreate files to the iCloud Drive, it will not ask me that question. It will just make another copy. So if you're saving multiple files over and over again, you're going to get multiple copies of them on your cloud to watch. It won't ask me. It doesn't say replace or anything. It just adds, and it will call it like, this one's called cover. So it'll call it cover 1, cover 2, cover 3. So if you save one file at a time, it will ask you if you want to replace it. But if you save a bunch at a time, it just makes multiple copies. So at some point, you may want to go into your drive and delete the old ones. I never do that. I am terrible at file maintenance as far as deleting old ones, organizing things, whatever. I just make multiple copies of stuff everywhere and use the search function to find them. But a lot of people are more organized than me. So Beverly, that was your question, right? Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that was great. And
Okay.
there's no benefit to either iCloud Drive or Dropbox, I assume.
No, I mean, iCloud Drive is Apple. So, you can access it on your phone and everything. You don't need to download an app or anything like that. But no, there's really no difference between whether you use iCloud Drive, Dropbox, Google Drive, all of them. Yeah, all of them, they're all the same, more or less, the same degree of safety and whatnot.
I was telling
Yeah.
you that I think this is a major problem because Zozis, who just like won this Pulitzer Prize and is this major cartoonist and book writer, she lost everything because she never backed up she lost all her New Yorker cartoons because she didn't know about backing up. And she just posted that last week. So I just went like, oh my God, yeah. This is a professional who does this thing. And she lost all her stuff.
Yeah. So I try to back up stuff that I work on every day. I try to back up just one file at a time when I'm done with working on it, because then it asks me if I want to replace it or not, but I don't always do that. Sometimes I'll just say, oh, I don't remember if I backed up my dad's sketches recently, and I'll go and I'll just take however long it takes and make it, save them all to files again. And then I end up having, dad sketches number 24, whatever.
Hey, hey, Donna, can I share a related tip? I could have you
Yes.
walk through it quick. If you open up your a stack and choose a file to back up again. So do your share.
You want me to open it or just say share?
You can just do share, and now do Procreate or any of those things.
Procreate's the original. So even if you make a JPEG or a TIFF or something for publishing, you want to save your Procreate in case you need to make changes in the future. Okay, so I got it here.
Save to files.
Save to files.
And if you see, your Google Drive is right in their stack.
Oh, it is right there.
Yeah,
cool.
and yeah. So
and
you don't
on my
have
iPad
to.
is too. On my iPad is too, which saves it if you. So, oh, thanks, Susan. I didn't realize Google Drive is here. Dropbox would probably be right on here as well. I don't know. I don't remember. On my iPad, what that does is you can make folders on your iPad and save things, and it will fill up your iPad really fast if you try to save all your Procreate files this way. That's why I don't do it. That's why I use the iCloud Drive, because you already have a copy of them on using up space on your iCloud Drive inside Procreate. And if you make another copy on your iCloud Drive, I mean, Procreate's like the second biggest thing on my iPad when I went in and looked at what was taking up space. So, and you can see I have a bunch of folders. I've deleted some, but I have a bunch of stacks of things that I'm working on, things that I finished. Now, things that I finished, I only kept the final versions on my iPad because I like to look at them. But the draft 1, draft 2, draft 3 stacks, I left them on the iCloud Drive, but I deleted them off my iPad after I printed my comics, because you don't need everything on the iPad forever, because it will fill up. And if your iPad starts to fill up, it slows down and get all kinds of trouble. Okay.
I just have a quick question, Betsy, before we leave that.
Yep.
When I look where you just looked, I don't see my Google, what did we just talk about? Google Drive there.
Okay, share.
Be looking. Yeah.
So share Procreate. Okay, stop. I only want to do one file, so it's fast. Share Procreate, and then so there's 2 places you can look. The one that I first picked was in this top group of icons on my iPad, and I scrolled over and it says Google Drive. That's one place. Sometimes if you're looking for something, you might have to click the more, depending what you have on your iPad and everything. But there's my Google Drive right there. And then also Susan showed us that if you save to files and scroll all the way to the bottom, at least in my case, it's on the bottom. Google Drive is in there.
But
Susan's is on top. So I don't know how it decides what order to show the things in. So it might be in Save to Files, but it also would be in the window that comes up before you pick Save to Files, which has, there's where my Dropbox is too, even though I don't use it anymore. So just remember that there's not just this list, there's this list, and I really have no idea why. But look in both places if you can't find something.
Thank you so much. That answers my question.
One last question.
Any more backup questions? Yeah.
Yeah, one last question. Could you go straight to Google Drive without doing Save to Files?
Yeah. So I'm going to say share Procreate. And then, like, instead of saying Save to Files, I just look in this here, and there's my Google Drive icon. And that brings up my Google Drive, and I can go look on my Google Drive and save it right there. Save here. I can make files and everything on there too. And that works pretty much just the same. It's a little slower for me. I don't know why, probably because Apple wants iCloud Drive to be fast. I have no idea. But yeah, so you can go directly to those either way.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're ready to go on to the next question, which is, how do you move part of an image from one place to another in Procreate? Okay, so it depends. So let me open this. This is a thing I made, and it has a bunch of layers in it. Okay, so it depends what I want to move. So when you say an image in Procreate, it can mean a lot of things. The whole thing is an image.
I was
Each
talking
layer
about
is
like
an image, like part of a layer.
part of a layer. Like, let's say you wanted to make his feet going the opposite way or something.
Okay, so now he's on his own layer. So I
Right.
can have that. I can have all the layers showing or just that one layer showing. That doesn't matter, but I have that layer selected so it's blue. So let's turn off the other layers just so we can see better. We're going to go up to the selection tool, and we have to select the part we want to move. And for moving part of a drawing, I usually use freehand. Sometimes I'll use rectangle if I can tell that it's, maybe if I wanted to move his head, I might use rectangle. But we're going to move his feet. So I'm going to select freehand, and then you just draw your selection around his feet. And then I like to click the dot when I get finished to close the selection so I can see that's what's selected. And this stuff that's got the lines on it is not selected. And now I can go up here to the transform tool, and I can do uniform, distort, whatever. Just moving it is uniform, and then I can just drag it wherever I want. I can rotate it, I can change the size, and you can do whatever you want to it. It's going to be staying on the same layer. So when I am finished and I unclick transform, and my selection will go away. And now if you look and see, this is still all on one layer. We just moved part of it. Now, in this case, that was kind of probably a dumb thing to do because I didn't move his pants also, but yeah, so that's how you do it. You select the layer, and you just, you select the layer with the layers list by tapping it. And then you use the selection tool and freehand to draw around the part you want to move. And you use the transform tool to move it. And uniform won't won't distort it or anything. If I say distort, I can stretch it all out of shape and do weird things to it.
Now, Donna, how would you move that head to an entirely different stack or different?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So in this file or in another file?
Either way.
Okay,
I just need
so
to know how to do that.
Yeah, I've still got my head selected, okay? So what I did is I went to the layer, I selected it that way, I went to the selection tool, I drew the selection around my head, and now instead of clicking transform, you can use the 3-finger swipe down. I've changed that to 4-finger tap, but 3-finger swipe down usually brings up this menu, and I will say cut and paste. Now my head is on a different layer than the rest of the skeleton. And if I want to move it to another file, I can take this layer, press and hold. I can use my finger or the Apple Pencil. Press and hold it. Pull it out of there. I'm not deleting it from this file. It looks like you're deleting it from this file, but I'm not. I dragged it out. I press gallery. Now I pick whatever other image I want to put it in, and I can go in there and let go, and it copied my head into there.
That's too cool for words. That's like
you can do this with
cloning.
multiple layers too. So say I wanted to take this ugly circle and this black leaf, I can select that, and then right swipe to select the second one. So you touch to select the first one, right swipe to select another one. Now I can take both of these layers, drag them out of there. They're not getting deleted, even though they disappear for a second. Go back to my gallery, go into a different file and let go, and they come into here. Now, sometimes they don't come in the same layer order. Sometimes if you had this, say, set to multiply, it comes in set to normal. You have to, mess around with it a little bit, but it will bring those layers into another file, Okay, any
Thank-
more questions about that?
I'm just flabbergasted. Thank you.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of things that, you can do all kinds of crazy things.
I
So-
could do it in Procreate, and for the life of me, I couldn't figure out, now how do I do this? I'm not Procreate, on Photoshop, but I couldn't figure out how to do it in
Oh,
Procreate.
right. Yeah.
So
So
this is
Donna, I
it.
have a follow-up
You
question
can
to that.
also, okay, but one other thing is you don't have to drag it. If you just want this one layer, I can just highlight it and I can do the 3-finger swipe and say copy. And then I can go into another file, do the 3-finger swipe and say paste. And of course, the layers are in a different stacking order and everything, but I can just copy and paste a whole layer with copy and paste. So you can either drag and drop it, or you can copy and paste it from one document to another. Okay, someone had another question related.
Yeah, that was me, Mariah. Hi, Donna. Thank
Hi,
you. This is so
Mariah.
interesting. There are things you do that just would never occur to me to do. And obviously you've learned them or figured them out somewhere along the way, but like that kind of thing of doing something with one hand or the pencil, dragging, and then touching the gallery with my whole other hand. It never would have occurred to me to use two hands. I just wonder what other shortcuts like
There's
that.
a
The
ton.
ways of touching the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it with the second hand. You can drag it out and go up to the gallery, and it's just harder. To me,
Yeah.
it's easier to touch it with the other finger and get it to go there. And now, see, I let go right in the gallery, and it just made a whole new document out of that layer because I didn't
Magic.
drag it into another file. I dragged it just into the gallery.
Yep.
I watch, you want to look up videos on gestures. I know I did one. I don't know if I included that. I mean, there's so many gestures and things you can do with your hands in Procreate. That's where you'll find them, though, in tutorials about gestures. So, and I just watch a ton of them, and I steal whatever I like. That would be useful for me. I start doing it.
Right. Well, feel
Yeah,
free to
I never
drop
thought
some
of that
those.
either. I saw somebody else do that. I never thought of doing that. But here's something else that's really cool that is related to that. If you're drawing with a brush and you want to change the size of the brush, you can change the size of the brush while you're drawing by dragging it up and down with your other hand.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So there's some things you can do like that. So that just made that look, which I love to draw with these Pilot Parallels pens, but I don't do it in a neat way. I do it in a really funky, sloppy way, and changing that brush size like that on the go gives me that same kind of crazy wonky line. And you can do that with any brush. You can drag the opacity or the size up and down with your other hand while you're drawing with the brush.
So cool. Thank you.
Yeah. I think those are the only two-handed things I do, but I'm not sure. All right. Next question. How to put lots of panels on one page in Procreate? Well, you just draw boxes. The most basic answer. So say this
hang
is
on.
a page.
Excuse
Yeah.
me, Donna. What I
Mhm.
mean is that sometimes I will work on, I've scanned everything in, and then I'm working separately on all the different panels. Now I want to put them back onto one page. How do I
Okay.
grab them? And,
Okay. So let's look at, I think I did something like that in, no, not there. Let's see. I did something like this in here, I think. So I drew these as separate
yeah,
Procreate
like that.
files,
Yep,
and now
exactly.
I want, if you want to put them together like that. Yeah. Okay. So you have to be careful what size you make them. I made these way too big. I made these 9 by 12. And now if I want to shrink them to be just a panel, the lines are going to get very thin. The text is going to get very small. So you want to be careful about what size you're making them. If you draw something, you want to make it, maybe 25% bigger than the panel it's going to be, but not like 4 times bigger or anything like that. But so basically what you do is you'll make a new blank canvas, and I'll just pick 9 by 12 because that's what I was using. You will have something set up the size of your comics. And now what I do is, I don't want to bring me personally, I wouldn't want to bring all these layers of each of these in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep these separate. If I want to edit them, I'm pretty sure I'm done with them, because you have a limited number of layers you can have in a file. So say I have 30 layers in each of these. I got a bunch of layers, maybe not 30, but I don't want to bring all of them into the other document. So what I would do is I do the share and just copy it. So this is one way. You can do the share, and then you can pick whatever you want and copy it, PNG, and then just copy. And then you can go in there and paste and resize it to what you want. I don't usually put my pages together in Procreate though, but you can do that, and then you can go back to the other one. If you have the document open already, you can pick the wrench, add, and copy canvas, and that just copies everything that you see as one layer. Copy canvas, and then I can go into my other thing, and again I can paste it in and scale it and move it where I want it and all of that. I usually put pages together in a different app, and I draw my panels all on one page. That's the size I want my page to be, or a little bigger, because I want to know like how big the stuff actually is. Because if I actually made each of these 9 by 12, and then I'm going to shrink them onto a page that's going to have 4 or 6 panels or whatever, like I said, I don't know if those things will even be big enough to see. I don't know if the text will be big enough to see, because I've made these basically 1/4 of the size that they were, which is a big difference. So you have to be a little careful about the sizes of what you're doing.
I'm thinking about when I want to add to this scene, like there's some more steps after this first panel. So I need a blank space, and now I want to draw and see what happens.
Oh, okay. So you've scanned and opened one picture.
Right.
And let's say that's it. This is going to be way too big for the size that you do. But say that you scanned and opened this picture, and we'll get rid of this background stuff because it's probably just a drawing. So I'll delete some stuff out of here just to make it simpler. Let's just delete some things here. Okay, so say that's your drawing, and you're gonna draw a box around that, and maybe it has a box around it, and you want to make one more panels. And this is the size you want it to be. The panel. So say this drawing is only 3 by 4 inches. You can go into the wrench, pick canvas, and you can crop and resize the canvas. And then you can make your page bigger so that you can draw more panels on it. It only has a certain amount of size you can go, and mine was already 9 by 12, had a bunch of layers. So, but you can resize your canvas, but that's kind of, I don't know. I think you should try to create a base document that's the size you want your comic to be. So for example, Beth did a whole lesson for us on how to create a template, but like I did my other book here, my Hill of Witches thing, I had a specific size canvas I wanted to use, and I would do that. And then if I wanted to bring in scans, instead of bringing them just into Procreate just naked into Procreate, like, I can go here, I can import a photo or a file right into Procreate, and it makes a whole new document. Instead of doing that, I would open my page and then use the add under the wrench, and I can insert a photo or a file, like if it's in the iCloud Drive or Google Drive, and I can insert my drawing from there and put it on my page. And the way I know my page is the right size. So there's multiple ways you can do it. And people get like kind of messed up because they don't think of their page size when they're starting their comics. And then of course, when you're going to submit it to an anthology or print it or make your own zine or whatever you want to do, you have to think about the page size. So try to think about the page size as early as you can with the process. Because the more times you resize things in Procreate and any app, the more time it will get blurry eventually if you keep resizing it, whether it's smaller or bigger. Because every time you resize something, Procreate or Photoshop or whatever has to figure out what pixels to put where to make this look the same at the bigger size. And so it's actually changing stuff. And if you do it a lot of times, it will eventually get blurry. So so focusing on your page size as early as possible is really important.
So let's say your page size is going to be 9 by 12, and then you're going to divide it into four. Then each of your panels that you're going to draw that are going to fit into those should be that number of inches. That's 9
no,
by
they should be a lot smaller, because if your page is 9 by 12, like each panel, just
Right.
draw them all on the same. If you're drawing it all in Procreate, just draw them in that 9 by 12 file. If you're drawing them on paper and, then scanning them or whatever, then you open your 9 by 12 and then insert a file or insert a photo. It probably would be a file if it was a scan. So you can insert a file. I don't have any scans on here though.
No,
And I can pick a photo because I have some photos. And I can insert it from my photo album or from my files if I scanned it and have it in Dropbox or iCloud or whatever. And it, instead of this, it would be a scan of your drawing. But yeah, so you want your to really know what your page size is going to be.
So if my page size is that, and I'm going to make 4 panels, but I'm going to make them on separate canvases, then I would make each one like 4 by 4.
Make it about 1/4 of this. I mean, you can size it a little bit when you put it in here into this, but you don't want to make it, 3/4 as big. So if you split 9 by 12, you get, what do you get? 3 by 4? No, 9, 4.5 by 6, right? 4.5 by 6.
And then you have to leave.
Yeah,
really
but most people, as far as that I know, draw the whole page in one document in Procreate. I don't think I've heard of anybody drawing separate panels in Procreate and then putting them together. Although there's absolutely no reason you can't do that. I think it just makes things more complicated.
I know I do that. I do that because I just need.
And then you don't even have to put them together in Procreate. I mean, you can put them together if you know other apps. If you draw, if I made each panel in Procreate, I could put them together in Affinity Designer, Affinity Publisher, other apps. If you know and use other apps, of course, you can put them together in Procreate as well.
So I have another question about that. Like, say you wanted that yarn on the upper right to be in the back of everything. Can you do that?
You can do anything
to.
Okay, you got it. Pops it in wherever it pops it in, and then you can drag your layers around. Now that layer is on the bottom, so the bottom is the back. Yeah, so you can move the layers, and then if I make it bigger, you can see that it's in the back. So it's all about the order of the layers.
I'm looking for something that says move all to the front or move to the back.
No,
there isn't anything.
No, you just drag it in the layer list. to the front.
Great.
Yeah, bottom is back, top is front. But yeah, it doesn't.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so like all this stuff from Photoshop and other apps, a lot of the features are in here, not all of them, but a lot of them are done differently or have different names. Yeah, and that makes it, yeah, there's no bring to front, move to back, move it down one
Okay.
layer. You just go in there and move it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Because the reason is that this program, and I mean, they try to simplify. We don't have menus and 10,000 buttons all over the place. Like in Photoshop, you would have up here a bunch of things. You would have a box here that had a whole bunch of tools, you know, and then you have a layers palette and an effects palette and this palette. And yeah, so this app works differently, is that it mostly has a clean page for you to work on. So you just actually do things in a different way by moving them around and whatever, not from palettes and toolbars and everything. So yeah, so it's a big change if you're used to Photoshop or something like that.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to see Donna's shirt. We got that. My Batman Van Gogh. Some things about watercolor. Just scrolling through the thing. Yeah, here's a tip from Susan. It's not a question, but this is the thing about saving space on your hard drive. Procreate can make time-lapse recordings of everything you do, and that's normally turned on. It's turned on, and actually I have it turned on, and I should turn that off and purge it, get rid of it all. Unless you're going to do time-lapse recordings for making videos. So that's in the wrench, and then video, and make sure that's unchecked. It will make your files smaller. So that way they won't take up so much space on your iPad or in your iCloud Drive, Dropbox, whatever. So good tip, Susan. I always forget about that, but it really does save a lot of space by turning that off. And you can check it in every file in case you've worked some that you already had it. And if you noticed when I turned it off, it says, do you want to purge it? It deletes all the extra stuff that was in the file. And then when you
Mine were
leave
so
it,
huge.
go back to
Mine
the
were so
gallery,
huge.
it's smaller.
Mine were so huge because I usually don't create a blank canvas every time. I just take the canvas I was working on yesterday and duplicate it, and then so it like was
It
inheriting.
had all those videos back 5 image. Yeah. That's a really
Oh.
good tip though, to turn that off.
It's-
Yeah, so
And-
always check that. Whenever you think of it, check it. And I probably need to check it in everything I've done now because I
Oh, okay.
I don't know if there's a way to turn that off for everything. So I will try to look that up because
Going
you'd want
going-
it to
There
Going
is. I put
forward?
it in the chat.
Oh, thank you.
can
You
you-
still have
okay.
to go backwards and turn you have to purge each one you've already
Everyone.
made individually, but you can go in and turn it all off. It's there in the chat. So,
Thank you. So if
That
you scroll down in
way-
the chat, the
Yeah,
new
the-
ones won't have that.
right. And if you want it, you can turn it on.
Right. Most of us are not making time-lapse videos, so we'd rather save the space on our drive. Yeah.
Now say you,
And that's, yeah. So Betsy said, what's the purpose of the time-lapse videos? When you see those videos, or maybe on YouTube, where it just shows you someone's drawing happening really fast, that's what they did. They just had a time-lapse video from Procreate, or Photoshop, or other apps have that feature as well. Go ahead,
Now,
Susan. Was that Susan or someone else?
that was Carol.
Carol, go ahead.
Yeah. So I want to match that orange color that you have on the yarn. I don't know how to do that. I've tried to,
Oh, okay.
and I don't
Okay.
know how to do that. Make that
So,
palette.
I don't remember what the default, you want to make a whole palette, or you just want to pick one color out of that?
Well, I'd start with one color. I don't know which
Okay.
is easier, but to match colors.
Well, I have it set so that when I touch this little box here, this
Okay.
color thing comes up.
Right.
Okay,
That
I
looks like
set
the
that.
clone tool or something.
No, it's a
But it's
big
not?
circle, and you see how it's got a color going around the edge,
Yes.
and that color changes as I move it. It's a
Yeah.
color picker. When I let go, this part changes to match what I was pointing at. So to pick
But you have
one
to touch
color,
that thing first on the left.
no,
Okay.
that's what I have it set to.
Oh,
So
okay.
you have to check, and I don't remember what the default is because I changed it.
Okay.
In the wrench,
Right.
under preferences and gesture controls, there's a whole bunch of things. Remember I said I changed the cut and paste menu. So instead of doing 3 fingers pulling, I tap with 4. Well, I changed it from 3 finger swipe to 4 finger tap because I kept not getting it to work right. So I did
Yeah.
something that works for me. So a lot of these
Okay.
things, you can choose a different way to access it. So the eyedropper tool, it might have just been a finger touching the image, but I changed it to tap the little square, and it has that tiny little square in it there.
Oh, okay.
So you can change it to different things. And there's all of these things, how you erase, how you smudge, there's things you can change. So if you're having trouble doing one of the gestures in Procreate, like I was having trouble getting that 3 finger swipe to do, go into the wrench, preferences, gesture controls, and see if the thing you want to change is listed there, and you can change it to a different way to get it. So I had set this to touch the box, and then I drag it around, and you can see the bottom part shows the color that it was, and the top part shows what I'm pointing to. Now I'm pointing to that light yellow. When I let go, this turned to the light yellow. So that's how you select one color. Now, if I have a palette that has empty spaces in it, or I can go here and just say create new palette. Now I have that color here. I can just tap as empty space in my palette and add it. And then I could go back to my document and touch my color picker again, pick another color from that orange, go back to my palette and add it. So I could build up a palette that way. Okay, so that's manually building a palette. Another way you can build a palette is if you go into your palettes, and you have to be on the palettes one. These things are not there if you're on one of these other things. So you have to be on the one, on the little thing that says palettes, and see your palettes. You can click plus, and then instead of creating a new palette that just gives you an empty one to fill, I'm going to delete that because I didn't need it. I can say plus, new from camera, new from file, new from photo. So if I say new from file, I can pick that same orange picture we were just using, and it picks a bunch of colors out of it and makes a palette. Now, is it perfect? No, because I would have probably liked to have seen more on the gold side in the palette that it made. Where's my palette? But it will make a palette out of it for you. You could change some of the colors if you wanted to, but that's what it does. Yeah, this is another one I made from an image. I like to examine images and then see what Procreate makes of a palette from it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like I said, some people love them. Some people think they come out a little bit too muted. I don't know where the heck it got these gray things from. Obviously, there's some gray pixels in there, but I would delete them and put more oranges in probably. I would go in here and say, if you press and hold on a swatch, when you let go, you can delete it. And now I can use my color picker and go back, and I can add another orange where I deleted that. So you can modify it.
Great. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I love to do that though. Like if I'm looking at a comics page, yeah, this is from a Ghibli image that someone had a background painting from one of their movies. And this one's from a Swamp Thing, a Swamp Thing comic, and this was from a comic called Witch Blood, and I liked the pages and the color combo, so I imported them just to see what it would put in the palette. And then sometimes I delete that stuff because I get too much stuff in here. But I do that to like examine, especially to examine other comics, the pages that I love, and see what colors Procreate picks out for a palette from them.
Oh, great.
Okay, so much fun to see people's problems get solved. Yay, yeah. Did everyone find the time-lapse recording to turn it off? Because I saw a comment in there. It's under the tool wrench and video, and then Beth posted how to do it for everything to turn it off globally.
I have this is probably real simple, Donna. When I'm looking at a palette, this is Betsy, by the way, can I rearrange the little squares in there and put them in an order? Okay.
So this palette I made only has 5 colors in it. So it's really easy. I can just press and hold one and drag it, and I could, move these wherever I want and then add more colors. This palette is full. So it's a little tricky. It's like those games where you're moving the letters around like that. Yeah. So if I move this one up there, of course, it's going to shift everything else. And I'm not very good at predicting exactly where it's going to shift it. But like for me, if I was going to keep these grays, I would want to get them way out of the way and not have them next to in the middle of the oranges and yellows. So I would move the grays all to one side. And then I would probably try to move my dark colors, my really dark colors, all to one corner. But see, now it pushed that one all the way over there. So it's a little bit, it's like that game where you have to move the things around, or like a Rubik's Cube. It doesn't always go exactly where you think it's going to go when you move them around. But yes, the easiest way to move them around is like to delete 2 or 3 colors. Move everything else where you want it, then put the other ones back in the empty spaces. So, a lot of my palettes have something that's either black or close to black, or white and close to white. You don't need those in a palette. So those are good colors to delete. In this one, I would delete the grays because I don't want them anyway. Yeah. So, but yes, that's all you do. Hold and drag. But then it shuffles the rest.
If I wanted to delete one, sometimes I hold it down and the delete button does not come up, which
you hold it down and let go. Don't move, just hold it down. Don't move the pencil. And if it doesn't come up, let go and it'll pop up.
If it doesn't come up, does that mean it was simply a blank space in that palette?
Yes. If you've got and it will be gray. But see, when I do that,
okay. I need to get mine set.
Color. Yeah, if it's black, it's a color.
Mine's set to be gray. There's no gray. I mean, mine's set to be black, I think, accidentally.
You have the dark interface. Is everything dark on yours?
Yeah.
So you can change that. So I don't like everything dark because I'm old and my eyes are not that good. So again, I went into the wrench.
Okay.
And I went into preferences, and I took right on the top. It starts out on this dark interface where everything's black, which I hate. And I change it to light interface. It changes everything to light gray, including those blank squares in the palette.
Oh, thank you so much. Perfect.
To me, that's much easier to see.
Wow.
Yeah, I can read the stuff now.
This is good. This is good. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So how do you find the layer that your line is on? This is a question that's in the chat. So let's just go into something that's got stuff in it. So the layers are kind of hard to see, right? If you forgot where you put something, a lot of times I end up going like this and turning on and off layers because I can't remember, or I made a mark by accident And I'm like, what layer is that stupid mark on? And I end up going through and turning on and off all the layers till I find it. There is a feature in preferences, I think under
It's
gesture
gestures.
controls, layer select. So I went into the wrench, preferences, gesture controls, and there's layer select. And I don't use this a lot. I really wanted it to be touch, but then I kept activating it too much. So I set it to that little box plus the Apple Pencil. Okay, let me show you what happens. If I touch the box, this is another two-hand thing, I guess, and the Apple Pencil, it shows me layers. And if I end on a layer, oh, look, there's two layers stacked up there. I can pick which one it is. And it only is showing me the layers that have stuff on it where my pencil is pointing. So sometimes there's more than one layer. So this one has the dots where when I pointed to the dot, it has this little tiny square, shows me all the dots, and they're in that layer. It also shows me the clipboard because, you know, they overlap. If I do the thing plus the pencil over the pen, there's nothing overlapping with the pen in this drawing. So it just shows me the pen layer. When I select that, then I go over here, it's selected in the list. So I don't use that a lot, but you could use that for finding stray lines and stuff like that. I usually, though, to be honest, I just go, where the hell is that line? And I'm turning this off till I find the layer it's on, and then I erase it before I forget where it was. But yeah, I do that a lot. But if the layer select thing, again, you go into wrench, preferences, gestures, layer select, there's several different options you can pick to how you access that. And then there's a thing called delay. So like if you just put touch, you can say, okay, when I touch the screen, I want the layer to get selected, but I want it to, well, the delay isn't letting me drag it there. So I don't know maybe it's touch and hold. Yeah, touch and hold, you can have a delay. I want to touch it, but I don't want it to actually select the layer for 1 second. So now I did that. And if I touch and hold, after a second, that came up. And it shows me which layers are under my finger. Remember, I have to wait a whole second. I don't know. There it is. So like I said, I don't use this feature a lot, but it is there and you might want to play with it and see if it works for you. Okay. Susan said she uses it a lot because she's doing her lines, her inking on different layers. Yeah. So yeah, so depending how you work and how you draw and everything, that feature can be more or less useful. So that's most of our time. I think there's a couple of tips in the chat. So if you want to, and links to some tutorials. So before I end, if you want to go down in the bottom of the chat window where there's 3 dots and you say save chat, it'll save it onto your drive, and then you can go in and look at it and you know, check out the tips that were typed into the chat and the links. There's a link to gesture tutorials and a links and mentions of some other teachers and different things that you might want to check out. So that was fun. So we'll have to do this again periodically, just to have a, you know, random Q&A every now and then and see what people are working on and what features we haven't all discovered yet. And then, you know, whenever you have time, there's a lot of short tutorials on YouTube. Sometimes, you know, just go on YouTube and search for Procreate such and such and watch a 5-minute video and you might learn, you know, that's where I got all this stuff from, is just from watching YouTube and Skillshare classes mainly. Everything's on YouTube. Skillshare is, you know, longer classes and stuff like that. but you can find out videos on every Procreate feature in the world on YouTube. So if you got a few spare minutes, watch those. And yeah, watching, Beth says she watches them to relax, and maybe you'll learn something you didn't know. So, all right, everyone, thank you for coming. This was super fun. Remember, you
Thank
can always
you.
post questions in the Mighty Network, and I can either answer them there or, you know, cover them in the next video too. So don't hesitate to ask me stuff about Procreate. See you guys
Thank
online.
you.
Bye.